In 2019, a man in Minneapolis was convicted of a shooting. But here's the catch: there was no gun, no fingerprints, no witnesses who actually saw him pull the trigger. Yet, he still ended up with a life sentence. The case shook the city. Reporters called it one of the strangest convictions in state history. Because from day one, nothing made sense. Police rushed to the scene after a 911 call. Gunshots in the night. A man down on the sidewalk. But when they got there, the victim was already gone. No weapon recovered. No surveillance footage. No clear motive. Still, detectives claimed they had their guy. His name, Marcus Hill. A 27-year-old with a minor record. Not violent. Not known for guns. But one neighbor pointed a shaky finger and said, "I think I saw him." That was all it took. Marcus was arrested within 24 hours. The trial was chaos. Prosecutors painted Marcus as cold-blooded. They told jurors he had planned the shooting after a petty argument. But when the defense asked for evidence, there was almost nothing. No gunpowder residue on his hands. No DNA on the victim. And the so-called eyewitness? She admitted she couldn't actually see the shooter's face. Just a hooded figure. Still, the jury convicted. Why? Because of one bombshell twist in court. A mysterious phone call was played. A recorded voice saying, "I handled it. He won't bother us again." The prosecution claimed it was Marcus. The voice wasn't crystal clear. But the jury bought it. And Marcus was found guilty. Here's where it gets darker. Months after the conviction, another shooting happened. Same area. Same style. Same caliber bullets. But Marcus was already behind bars. Detectives dismissed it as coincidence. The DA doubled down on their conviction. But the defense team smelled blood. They pushed for an appeal, claiming the real shooter was still out there. Then came the twist no one saw coming. A prison chaplain revealed Marcus had been keeping letters. Dozens of them. All anonymous. All with the same threat. "You took the fall for me. Stay quiet, or your family suffers." Who was writing those letters? And if Marcus wasn't the shooter who was walking free in Minneapolis, the case was suddenly wide open again. Journalists started digging. And what they found could change everything. Because the eyewitness neighbor, she had ties to the victim. And maybe even to the real killer. The city thought the case was over. But in reality, it was just beginning. And the truth about the Minneapolis shooting was far more shocking than anyone realized. Remember the eyewitness neighbor? The one who claimed she saw Marcus? Turns out, she wasn't just a neighbor. She was the victim's ex-girlfriend. And she had reasons to hate him. Investigators started pulling her phone records. What they found was shocking. The night of the shooting, she was texting someone nonstop. Not the police. Not her family. But an unknown number saved only as J. Here's where it gets crazy. One text read, "It's done." He went down fast. Minutes later, another reply, "Good. No one can trace this." That was the same night Marcus was accused. But Marcus had no link to this number. The defense jumped on it. They argued the ex was covering for someone. That she pinned the crime on Marcus to protect the real shooter. And then the letters Marcus got in prison. They were traced. Not to his friends. Not to gang members. But to a local cop. Yes, a police officer connected to the case. The same officer who discovered the supposed phone call recording that put Marcus away. Now the entire case looked poisoned. If a cop was tied to the threats, how much of the evidence was staged? Journalists exposed the cracks. The city exploded in outrage. "Free Marcus!" Protests filled the streets. But the DA refused to back down. They claimed Marcus was guilty, and the letters were just a sick prank. Then came the twist no one expected. Ballistics reports from the second shooting, the one that happened while Marcus was locked up, matched the bullets from the first crime. Same gun. Same shooter. But it couldn't have been Marcus. So who pulled the trigger? Who was the real killer? And why was a cop working so hard to keep Marcus behind bars? The answer, investigators soon learned, was buried in the victim's past. A secret life. A hidden deal. And enemies who wanted him silenced forever. The victim wasn't who people thought he was. Not just a regular Minneapolis man. Not just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He had a secret life. Records showed he was tied to a drug trafficking ring. But not as a dealer. As an informant. He was working with police. Feeding them names. making deals behind closed doors. And that's where it gets dangerous. Because when an informant gets exposed, enemies come knocking. Hard. The defense discovered the victim had testified against a gang just months before the shooting. And that gang had ties to dirty cops. Yes, cops who weren't just ignoring crime but protecting it. Suddenly, Marcus' conviction looked like more than a mistake. It looked like a cover-up. The letters he got in prison, the threats, they weren't random. They were warnings. Stay quiet. Take the fall. Or your family pays. Then came the bombshell. The mysterious number saved as J. It was traced to a burner phone. But guess where it last pinged? A Minneapolis police precinct. That meant someone inside law enforcement might have pulled the trigger and used Marcus as the perfect scapegoat. The city was boiling. Protests grew louder. Journalists demanded answers. And then out of nowhere the eyewitness neighbor vanished. No trace. No goodbye. Just gone. With her disappearance, everything spiraled. If she was silenced, who was next? And would Marcus ever make it out alive before the truth finally came crashing down? The missing eyewitness wasn't missing by accident. Detectives discovered she was last seen getting into a car. Not just any car, a squad car. Registered to the same cop who built the case against Marcus. That officer? The one who found the audio recording. The one tied to the threatening letters. He was now the prime suspect. But here's the twist, he wasn't acting alone. Digging deeper, investigators uncovered a network. A ring of corrupt officers. Using the victim as an informant. Feeding him information. Then betraying him when he knew too much. The victim was silenced. Marcus was framed. And the eyewitness? She knew the truth. That's why she vanished. The case exploded into headlines. Police corruption in Minneapolis shooting. The DA had no choice. Marcus' conviction was overturned. After years behind bars, he walked free. But freedom came with a cost. The real shooter? Never officially named. Never officially charged. The precinct went quiet. Files sealed. Cops transferred. And the eyewitness? Still missing. Marcus gave one interview. His voice was steady. His eyes hollow. He said, "I lost years of my life for a crime I didn't commit. And the people who put me there are still walking free." The Minneapolis shooting remains one of the city's darkest cases. Not just for the murder, but for the cover-up that followed. And the question that still haunts everyone, if they could frame Marcus so easily, who will be next? Fire, end of story. But the truth? It may never really be over. Big clickable box with text. Backhand index pointing right. Watch part 2, The Eyewitness Lie.